Okay, you guys, we are so excited to be back with another episode of Salty Talk. And we are pumped to have not only some of my amazing co hosts, Becky and Jerome. What's up, guys?
What's
How's it going?
Hello.
But also Mike Lindeman from North Star Church out in Atlanta. And we are pumped to hear about his over 10-year experience in a community
Mhm.
minister role, over 20 years in working at that church. So, Mike, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yes, I love it. Well, it's always a good time hanging out with some of my favorite peeps and just getting to know more about other community ministers like ourselves and the amazing work that's being done in the community. And today we want to talk about school partnerships. Every community's got schools, every community has kids and educators and districts and people that we want to be connecting with to help serve the schools and the children and families of our communities. And so let's kick off our conversation around that.
Awesome. So Mike, let's just jump right into it. Let's just like spring off this diving board. It's almost summer. Well, depending on when you're listening to this. Where I'm at, it's always summer, so there you go. But as it relates to school partnerships and relationships and what that looks like, can you just kind of bring us into your world there in Atlanta? What does your church's relationships look like with schools, maybe in your neighborhood, maybe district wide? Um, just give us like the nuts and bolts. We're so excited to, it's
Mhm.
always so exciting to like hear what other things are happening across the country. Just makes us feel so like, communal. So I'm
Yeah.
super excited to hear what your relationships look like and yeah, bring us into your Atlanta world and school partnerships.
Well, you bet. Okay, so I want to be real sensitive to the fact that what I've learned through talking to people from churches that are across the country and even churches that are still in Georgia is that each community looks very different. And so when I speak about some of the things that we're doing with schools, um, the doors to our schools, to our local schools, are wide open. They are so welcoming to us, and we're facing very little pushback. Now, you go a little bit further, and things change. But I think I'm super blessed that some people that came before me encountered these closed doors 20 years ago and loved well and stewarded these relationships well, so that when I stepped into the role, a lot of great things were in place. In our county, we're in Cobb County, Georgia. There are about 125 schools.
Wow.
We have, and that's elementary, middle, and high school. The way that we are situated in the county is we're in the north part of the county. So you can go just a few miles north, and there's three different counties that kind of border us. So there's 120 schools in our county. We serve some of the schools in the surrounding counties, and then there's actually a city area that we serve. But I would tell you that actively, we think that we serve each school year somewhere between 35 and 40 of those schools. And it looks different, whether they're a high school, middle school, or an elementary school. Most of the relationships start with the principal. We say that in the elementary schools, we probably do a really good job of loving on our staff. In the middle schools, it kind of looks like staff and students. And then in the high schools, we probably are much more engaged with the sporting events and the school, extracurricular things. And then our student ministries get very connected to the sports activities and those kinds of things. So that's how it looks. Um, I can tell you too, if you don't mind me keep going, that
Oh, keep going.
okay, so I'll keep going. So um, a lot of educators and a lot of school teachers attend our church.
Mhm.
And our church runs, you know, a few thousand on a Sunday morning. And so we cater to the educators. I mean, we acknowledge them, we celebrate them, and we do a lot of things for them. And so to have teachers, to have principals in our congregation, it makes it super easy. Right now, I just finished up, I don't know about for you guys, but the month of May for me is probably my busiest month of the year. And that's because we're doing so many partnerships with schools.
Mhm.
A big ministry that we have, which seems a little silly to you, is we have a couple pull behind grills and we do hamburgers and hot dogs. So I probably had 20 or 25 or 30 events just in the month of May because we were pretty much at every 8th grade party, 5th grade celebration, senior cookout. And so that's elementary, middle, and high school. June gets kind of quiet for us just because everyone's starting summer, going to the beach, doing whatever. But in the month of July, what July will look like for me is after July 4th. And so I have a part-time admin that works on my team, and her name is Janine. She's incredible. And so what we've already done is we've assembled the list of people that we have about 3 weeks. And so we will reach out to every principal that's on our list and we will bring them lunch. And we'll sit down with them, and you know, they're not busy, they're kind of planning the month ahead, the year ahead, and we're going to sit down with them, and over lunch everybody's friends. Some of them I know well, some of them I'll probably be meeting for the first time. Some of these we're absolutely taking lunch to the new principals because we just had appointments of people who retired, and new principals, assistant principals have moved in there, and we'll sit down with them and we'll just say, here's who we are if you don't know about us, and here are ways that we can love you guys and love you well. A big thing about what we're doing in the schools is we are serving and loving them, no strings attached. And I would say that if people get nothing from this, we never ask for 5 minutes to share. We never ask for if I come here, will you come to our church? There's nothing like that. And so we want to serve and love, you know, no strings attached. And if people say, well, what's my ROI? When are they going to come into my church? When is that breaking point? And I don't know. Eventually it hits. But
that's up to the big man himself.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
What do y'all's communities look like? I mean, I tell you that our doors are wide open. Do you face some of the resistance? And do you have in Arizona or California or Kentucky? What do your school systems look like?
Well, go ahead, Becky.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, we got there eventually. I'm curious. I'm gonna bounce past this back to you for a second, Mike. But the doors were not open to us. They were especially the public school system was very leery of people from the church coming in. So that was kind of our story. But I'm curious as to like you have these great relationships. I'm curious as to how you got started in that, or did you start small, or was it just wide open from when you came into the role? Because for us, we had to kind of build that trust with the school system, and we went in as like coaches. Like we reached out to our congregation and said, we want to build a bridge from the church to the local school system, particularly the public school system. So who do we have out there? Whose kids are in the public school system? Go be coaches, be assistants, be room moms, be whatever, and get your foot in the door. And then from there, we built out into the community that we are in now, and we have a great relationship with, you know, dozens upon dozens of schools. But I'm curious as to like how North Star got started.
You know, building bridges is a big thing that we say. And when North Star started 27 years ago, they said, we want to do a good job of building bridges with our community. This isn't a church that looks inward, but it looks outward. One of the best things that I think that we do, and it kind of falls under community ministry, But our building, we have 60,000 square feet, I think, of space. And our building is open to the community year round, free of charge.
Mm.
So we have a full-time events person and he has some guys, and I'm going to say we have 4 or 5 really good breakout spaces. And so you talk about like, how were the doors? How do you open the doors? We opened our doors. And so our church doesn't look like your traditional Baptist church with a steeple. It actually kind of looks like a community building. And so, I think from us showing up to serve with no strings attached and doing that for a lot of years, and then inviting the community to come into our building with no strings attached for a lot of years. I mean,
That's really
I
smart.
inherited something that was going on for 15 years. And so when you do something, I've heard it said that it's better to be consistently good than occasionally great. And so we want to be consistently great all the time, but it's that constant pressure, not pressure, that constant persistence of, I'm going to love you. 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 And over the years, they really start to believe you're not going to ask for anything. You really are there to love them. And so I think a lot of times churches think, well, if I do this fall festival one time a year, or if I come and I help with this event, in the spring and the fall, well, then everybody from this community is going to show up at our church. And it just doesn't work that way. And
Yeah,
so
you're right. Yeah,
yeah.
that's really,
I definitely-
really good stuff.
I definitely feel like it takes kind of that like internal gut check on like the motivation behind engaging in schools. Of course, it's like there's a lot of kids, that's a lot of families, that's a lot of, but I think kind of checking to make sure that our motivation is to truly love on these kids, love on these families, and meet the educators and the administration like where they're at. We don't know what their experience has been like with the church before. And, when I got into my role, there was a gentleman who had been doing local and global, and really all he was able to kind of juggle both worlds was to do serve days. And serve days were cleaning schools on weekends when no kids were there, kind of just behind the scenes, which is amazing. There's no fault in that. But I came in thinking, but there's no interaction with kids. Like there's no, like we're not actually touching. They're seeing the evidence, but they're not really getting the engagement. And so, it kind of evolved over time. We don't do serve days anymore, but when we did do serve days, it changed to a more relational thing. So, okay, well, what are you as a school trying to accomplish? Okay, you're trying to promote STEAM focused things. So could we do a fun family thing that has STEAM events, where we're coming alongside, and if it's an awards ceremony you're going to do, great, then we'll maybe come alongside that. But over the years, the relationships and honestly the ability to manage multiple church partnerships in a big city like Anaheim or a region like Orange County, we don't have a big staff team. So it was like me and a part-time person and then a person that does benevolence. So it was like, I don't think we can actually do this well, really, at that multiple school levels. I think we're at like 10 different schools. And so we decided to kind of focus more at a district level and be more behind the scenes working with kind of community liaisons. So families that are experiencing issues with not having beds for their kids or pillows or food or lice, infestation issues, or kind of trying to really get at some of these really vulnerable families, and also building relationships with the administration. They're seeing our consistency and meeting these needs as they advocate for their families. So I think we have a lot of room to grow and kind of build back into the people to people part, but our current kind of capacity, and we've figured out, okay, what are we really good at? If we have a really lean team right now and we need to build back into the people rubbing shoulders, let's figure out how we can meet real needs, provide real hope and sustainability for these families to try to get their kids to school to be able to be educated, or single moms, or kids with, a cancer diagnosis for a parent in the household. And in turn, building relationships with these community liaison district level people that, call us friends now. So it's a very different journey, but we did have to build those relationships, and these people don't come to our church, or they didn't. And then you're like, wait, hang on, I don't usually see you. This is
Right.
great. We didn't, and of course they're always invited, but we're not like, you're going to be at church Sunday. We're like, we're
Right.
here if you need anything. And then it's one of those things that God kind of just works.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I love like how our different journeys kind of culminate in the same result, which is people experiencing the love of God. And so
Mhm.
for us here in Phoenix, we partner with several schools, and we do it through a partnership with an organization called School Connect, and they have an amazing model. It's the whole idea is it takes a village. So we have these what are called like cafes, where we'll bring the community together. So there's representation from the business sector, from the nonprofit sector, from government. So the municipalities, I can talk, they show up, and then the faith realm, right? And so we all gather at the local school, whatever school we're targeting at that moment, and literally just asking the school, what do you need, right? How can we help? And I
Yeah.
think it's important to start there, because like sometimes you think, oh, this school needs a backpack drive, and they're like,
Mhm.
yeah, except that we got like 30,000 backpacks in the
Yeah.
back room from
That's
last year.
real.
That, you know what I mean? Like,
It's true.
so, like just doing the easy work of asking, what does help look like for you? And I love what you
Mhm.
guys are saying, like no strings attached. I don't
Mhm.
care if you ever come to our church. I don't care if you can't spell church. If I gave you the first, you know what I mean? Like all the
Yeah.
letters
Yeah.
except for the last H. Um, I want you to experience the love of God, however that looks.
Mhm.
So if it's cleaning windows, if it's mentoring an eighth grader that's been disrupting class. So we've been able to like build these relationships through consistency. Um,
Mhm.
and just keep showing up, like keep showing up. And I think Mike, you mentioned that, but we're like that dripping raindrop. Like we keep showing up, we
Mhm.
keep showing up. We
That's
show up
right.
with smiles, we show up with brooms, we show up with love, we show up with sound advice. For I've talked to so many teachers like that have just poured out their frustrations that they can't do with their
Mhm.
assistant principal or their principal, and it's
Mhm.
just like, hey, just get it out. You know what I mean? Like there's
Mhm.
no judgment.
Right.
Like, and so it just looks so many different ways on so many different days. Um, but it is so I guess my encouragement to those that are listening to this is find out how you connect, right? Like
Mhm.
Erica, you mentioned it, like you find out what you're good at, what you do well, what you can do. And here's the key word, that's sustainable. We
Mhm.
don't want to be
Mhm.
a flash in the
Right.
pan. We don't want to be,
No.
oh,
Mm-mm.
it's back to school. Oh, it's you know what I mean? Like we cleaned up that campus one time. Like
Mhm.
these kids go to school every single day. The teachers and the
Mhm.
administrators, they show up every single day. And so we got to do things that we're good at, that are
Mhm.
sustainable. And it's so rewarding. Like I think the reward is being the hands and feet of Jesus, right?
Mhm.
And the results will take care of themselves. Like
Mhm.
I'm in this space right now where I'm just like just really embracing this idea of falling in love with the process, right? Like I want to take a swing every single day. I don't care about the result. I know the result will take care of itself. I want to fall in love with the process. I want to fall in love with like showing up
Mhm.
every day or every week or whatever that frequency is, and building this relationship and just watching things flourish. Like Mike, you
Mhm.
talked about, the second grade teacher is now being promoted to assistant principal, is now being promoted to
Mhm.
superintendent, or whatever the case may be. And one of the things I love, and then I'm gonna like throw an alley-oop to one of y'all so I don't talk so much. Because a bunch of leaders and pastors, like you talk your whole face off. But like when the kids ask, why do you come here?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you so much for asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love you, but you
Yeah.
don't know me. but I love you, and here's why. Like,
Mhm.
and I start telling them, like, there's greatness inside of you. You're a champion. Why do you say I'm a champion? Because champions are measured by how you respond to adversity. And so I know you had some adversity this morning, but you responded by coming to school and trying.
Mhm.
So you're,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I love that question because it just opens up so many more avenues to help and to serve and to love on these folks.
I
And
love that.
it's amazing. So
I love that. You know, you talked about the sustainability part, and we did start, like I said, we started slow. It was a slow roll, all the things, but we wanted to get more than just the backpack drive. And so
Mhm.
we tried
Yeah.
like a three-prong approach. Like if we could get in the rhythm of the school system and touch a touch point at in the summer, a touch point in at Christmas time, and a touch point at graduation. So we tried to build those three things around the school year, and it really did turn the tides, and it really did meet. We call it, what's the good news? What is the good news for that
Mm.
school? And it was a really cool thing to watch it evolve over the years into, hey, can we come in? Hey, knock, 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 we're here again, to offer
Mhm.
you holiday assistance or offer you graduation attire assistance with one of our partners, or even like a school system, like back to school something, or kindergarten readiness, or some kind of something. But then they started coming to us with like, hey, we have this
Mhm.
system wide issue within our school system. Could you help as the church? Like they started
Yeah.
calling us for like, we have an issue. Like I got invited into interviews and like things like that I could really speak into the process. And so talk about sustainability of like, holy cow, they didn't even want us on
Mm.
our property, to like, hey, we should call the church because they'll be able to help. Like, whoa, that's a totally different posture.
Okay, so Mike, we've talked about different ways that you have offered schools to help, behind the scenes with people and whatnot. But you had shared some other ideas with us that we'd love to hear about. So share with us.
Well, yeah, a lot of times churches are going to say, "Well, we don't have the resources, or we don't have the ability to really love other than maybe holding car doors or doing something simple like backpacks." And one of the best ideas that actually an assistant principal, she just asked us. She said, "Hey, one of the needs that one of the things that we'd really like to do for our staff to honor them is to help them with family pictures." And I know that my family's done family pictures, and it's several $100s at least to get nice professional photos of them. Well, at North
Oh yeah.
Star, we have a photography team. I don't know if your churches do, but we have
Mhm.
volunteers. We have a person on staff that kind of does our videos and stuff. But she has people that go around with cameras on Sunday mornings, and they take pictures, and they help out. And so what we did is we created a sign up genius for the teachers of that school on a Saturday, and they came to our school dressed, or to our church dressed up in their fancy family clothes. We had this antique truck that and a pretty backdrop, but they came in 15-minute mini sessions, and our photography team, there's two or three of them volunteered throughout the morning. We did it from like 8 to noon. And then they received a digital copy of their photographs. It was a really, really cool way to kind of meet them with that need. Maybe we said, "What do you need?" But they told us what they needed, and then we used our resources to do that.
I think that's so great because you're kind of asset mapping within your own organization. Who do I know that's got a skill set? It right doesn't cost us any money to use our unique skill sets. And so that's just such a great place to start because we've all got skilled people, right? That probably have a heart for kids and families and schools. So I think that's great. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. So great
It was
way to
it
go.
was neat because I remember the very first family that came that day. I was there getting them going, and I saw the family. They were cute, and then they left. Well, that was kind of early fall. Well, at Thanksgiving, we typically go to a few schools and we serve in their cafeterias. There's lots of families coming through, getting their turkey and gravy. So we just help. and it was the cafeteria manager. And so when I went to the school, she recognized us because she said, "Hey, I came to your church and y'all took my photograph, and now I'm here, scooping mashed potatoes, helping you
I love
through,
that.
through the line." And so it's those kind of opportunities where I've served you and loved you here. Now I'm doing it again. It gives you relational buy-in. So it's
That's
great.
great.
When you talk about getting invited into some of this stuff, the question that we ask ourselves at North Star is, from a community standpoint, is if our church disappeared tomorrow, if our doors closed tomorrow, would the community notice?
Love that.
It's always a good
Love
one.
that. That is a good one.
100%. And Mike, I'm curious. So when you talked about, meeting with these principals in July, which I think is so amazing, I think that relational touch point and to slow down long enough to listen, I feel like that is not what people, at least in our community, are used to. Like, oh, you want to, like, people being church schools, people being nonprofits, like, oh, you want to hear what I have to say about what I need? I'm used to
Yeah,
people
that's right.
knocking on the door and telling me what we need, or here we have the example was like, here we have all these puffy paint backpacks. Don't you want them? Like, well, no, we don't want those.
Yes.
No, thank you so much. So what is it, Mike, that you like? What are some examples you're sharing in these meetings with new principals of ways that your church can love on the administration, the students, year round, behind the scenes, out front? Like, share with us a little bit about that.
What we found is that, and I'm gonna throw out some ideas that cost money, and I'm gonna throw out ideas that if you've got a budget problem, then you can still support them. So when we sit down at these meetings, we talk to them about, usually they're telling us about pre-planning. They're talking about feeding the teachers at pre-planning. They're usually talking about something. There's always some type of fall event. There's usually something at Christmas, and then there's usually something kind of at the end of school. And so a lot of times it looks like we have some partnerships with some catering companies. We cook hamburgers and hot dogs, is what I mentioned before. One of the amazing things that we're blessed enough to get to do is, for the past couple of years, is our principals are not allowed to provide thank you gifts to their teachers. Somebody along the way messed it up for all of them. And so we actually give Starbucks and Chick-fil-A is kind of what we landed on, gift cards to the principals in our little church logo, and then they gift them to their teachers. The principals use it throughout the year at their discretion and say, "Great job, here's a coffee. Great job, here's a Chick-fil-A." So those are a couple money things. A couple things that are some good free things to do is maybe provide volunteers for field day. We have a big special needs dance in our community, so help decorate, help do those kinds of things. We're asked to judge talent shows, and we're asked to judge all those kinds of spelling bees. We have the best things that you can do are the weekly things. So we send volunteers every week to a couple schools, and we're packing those little back take home food for the weekend type thing. And the school just needs people to pack the bags every week to deliver them to the school. And we go every week. And so just different things like that can really be a blessing to the schools.
I think that's so great. And I think what you're talking about, that kind of the rhythm of like weekly, monthly, kind of throughout the season, all different ways. Because yeah, all of us are going to be equipped in different ways, whether it's the people force, finances, even being thought partners for how to kind of organize something or do something. And so I just love that approach that you guys take. And I know that there is so much more we could cover, because I know within the experience of those of us on the call, there's probably so many examples that we've got, but it's just been so cool, Mike, to hear just about what you guys are doing out in Atlanta, and just how you brought so much wisdom and really grown what you do in schools. So thank you so much for joining us. I know this conversation could just keep going and going. I have more to think about, but guys, thanks for tuning in. We're excited that we have you along for the journey. And again, grateful, Mike, to have you join us.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mike, for just all the insight. And, listeners, I hope that this has been just an amazing opportunity to learn maybe about how to start in school systems if you've not been a part of it, if you want to get involved in it, or if you have if you have insights for us, be sure to jump on the communityminister.network, and let us know in all the platforms that you can. Let us know your feedback. Let us know what your questions are. We'd be happy to answer. But we're so thankful that you're here and that you're listening. Don't forget to like us on all the social platforms: Facebook, Insta, X. Not exactly sure what we're all involved in, but we're involved in a
All the
lot of things.
places.
All the places. So like, heart, love, all the things. And just don't forget to be salty. Be salty every single day in any way you can. So stay salty, y'all. We love you.